Let's make this episode a special one by just being ourselves and loving ourselves just the way we are. There you go. Stephen A. Smith again. He's giving his take on how he feels Donald Trump, President Donald J. Trump, won the 2024 election. Let go.
Go because there's no other place to start today other than the re-election of Donald J. Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. Trump's victory was called early this morning. Needing 270 electoral college votes, he finished the evening with 292 to win the White House. Trump's re-election is a crushing blow to Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party that relied on a number of issues that ultimately fell flat with the American public, evidently. I'll get to the Democrats in a moment, but let's put Donald Trump's victory in perspective. He reclaimed the White House with a unique campaign that relied heavily on a voter turnout operation that focused on one familiar issue, the economy. In addition to that, the president-elect managed to peel votes away from once reliable Democratic support groups such as the Latinos and, of course, black men. If you look at that number right there in the CNN exit polls, the Hispanic vote for Trump increased by 13% from what it was in 2020 when he lost to President Joe Biden. With the black community, according to that same CNN poll, it increased by 5%. And obviously, when you hear 5%, you're automatically going to deduce that it was black men that ultimately hurt Kamala Harris. I tend to focus on the 13%. Because I think that when you are Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party, that's really what we have to do as we take a closer look as to what transpired. I'm going to say this before I get into any of that. Donald Trump's return to the White House is the greatest comeback probably in American history. 34 felony counts, 2 impeachments. I can't count the number of mistakes that he has made. When he departed in 2020 after the insurrection at the United States Capitol, we all thought he was finished. He was done. He went back to his hub at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, and the next thing you know, plotted a return to the White House that, regardless of what they tried to throw in his direction, nothing worked. Nothing worked. Now, we could say what we want about his policies, whatever they may be. We could say what we want about his character, whatever you want to say. But when you think about leaders, one of the primary elements you're looking for from them is fight. Are you somebody that has alligator skin and a level of intestinal fortitude that few can rival? So when you got to go into the lion's den and deal with adversity, you're more than capable of doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if any of us can definitively say we could deal with what Donald Trump dealt with and still end up back in the White House. He was definitely helped by Joe Rogan's endorsement in the wee hours before the election began, or before election day began. That played a role. He had some celebrities supporting him. I don't think that played much of a role. But ultimately, his focus on the economy and inflation ravaging us all, combined with the border issues, immigration, and over 11 to 12 million migrants entering the country illegally and focusing on that, I thought that there were certain things that he did that were nothing short of brilliant. Now, I have been on the record stating on several occasions, the economy was one thing. I just talked.
Traders, are you tired of throwing darts in the dark with your trades, relying on pure luck and gut?
Talk to you about that. Immigration was another. I just talked to you about that. What about crime in the streets? When you look at New York City, when you look at Los Angeles, when you look at the fact that people were being arrested and the same day they were put in jail, they were getting out. And there seemed to be no punitive damage that was being suffered by those who were inflicting harm upon American citizens. What about that? okay? And then we have to pay attention to woke culture and the cancel culture. Think about the commercials that Donald Trump was showing. Think about the commercials that involved Charlemagne the God and the Breakfast Club when they kept playing footage of Kamala Harris saying she was in support of transgender operations taking place even for those incarcerated, while incarcerated. Think about that. Think about how they leaned on her appearing on The View, and when The View, a liberal outlet, very supportive of Kamala Harris, asked her a simple question of what, if anything, she would do differently from Joe Biden.
Witches. I'm sorry.
She said there was nothing she could think of. These are the kind of things that I think hurt her.
Thank you, Miss Puerto Rico, for that question that really helped destroy her.
Okay? But I also lean on woke culture and cancel culture for this reason as well. They also brought up how somebody transitioning from being a male to a female were competing against women and young ladies, knowing that there were an abundance of people, not just on the right, but independents, who would not support that. They weren't going to support that. They looked at something like that and they said, what the hell is wrong with us? They hearkened back to years ago when you had people getting in trouble because instead of saying him or her or he or she, if you didn't say they, it was a violation. And ultimately that could get you in some kind of trouble. At some point in time, people were looking at those things. Now, some people would say that had nothing to do with the outcome of last night's election. I beg to differ. But ultimately what it does come down to is this. With all of those things transpiring, it gave the impression that the Dems were at the mercy of the progressives on the extreme left, which forced folks in the center to lean right and forced the right to harden their stances even more. And what did you see as a result? There was no blue wall, ladies and gentlemen. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, etc. No. They talked all evening that if North Carolina and Georgia went to Donald Trump, the only way Kamala Harris would have a chance to win the election is if she won Pennsylvania. And she lost that too. I expected a tough, tight race. What we witnessed was an annihilation.
Yes.
An annihilation.
Trump.
This was supposed to last, this debate about the election and how many votes, it was supposed to last probably until Thursday, Friday, maybe even into the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, Fox News called it at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. We knew that Donald Trump had won back the White House.
Right.
It was that kind of a romp, that kind of an annihilation. There are many, many things to insult Donald Trump about. There are many times we could have done it in the past. We can't do it today. There ain't a damn thing we could say. America has spoken. The Republicans have the White House.
Yeah.
They have the Senate, by the way. They won back the Senate. They flipped it. And they're probably going to retain the House. They had it from 2017 to 2019. They got it back again. America has spoken. America has spoken. And by the way, look at this cover on Vanity Fair, please. Take a look at this. With Trump's face, 34 felony counts, 1 conviction, 2 cases pending, 2 impeachments, 6 bankruptcies, 4 more years.
Yeah.
And the 47th American president for the United States of America.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah. Congratulations.
What do you say?
Congratulations.
No one.
You say congratulations. 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 That is Stephen A. Smith and his take on how Donald Trump won the White House again, he said out of his mouth that that was one of the greatest comebacks in political history. I would agree. As far as what I know about politics, he hard for that. But like I say, Stephen A. Smith, pretty leave a comment, like, share, subscribe to the channel if I gave you any valuable content. Love yourself, treat yourself, don't beat yourself. Love yourself.